Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Chat with Hallee Bridgeman. It is Columbus Day, so happy Columbus Day. I am home with my kids, and so if there's some sort of loud crashing and banging, it's because we've been home since September 29th. So it's been fall break, and it's been really great, and they go back tomorrow. And I had a book deadline, so I've been holed up in my office. Anytime my husband was home, I've been locked up in my office writing. So anyway, it's awesome to see you here. I hope that you are off today too, and kids are home from school, and that you just have a great day. It's raining here, and so I think we're going to the movies at lunchtime because they've just we're ready to get out of the house. All right, so today's question I'm answering is, what is the most interesting fact you've come across in your research? And I had to really think about this one because I've done some really amazing research. I've written a lot of suspense style books, and so there's been a lot of research coming up. But the one that I thought about was A Carol for Kent. And I'm annoyed at this live video because the words are backwards. Everything is backwards. And the first few videos I did, I pre-recorded. And when I uploaded them, they weren't backwards, and so I may go back to that just for the sake of having nothing be opposite. But anyway, all right, so I was writing A Carol for Kent, and I have a lot of friends who work in professional capacities. I just am blessed to have a huge network, and so Carol, for those of you who haven't read the book yet, Carol is a prosecuting attorney for the city of Richmond, Virginia. And this is the third book in the series, and she was in an Aria for Nick. She was Aria's high school friend and made an appearance in the book. And so I had to have her in Richmond, Virginia. That was set in stone. And so I was researching, basically there's a serial killer who later in the book, it's found out that what he's doing is actually targeting Carol. And so he dresses the women that he kills in professional clothing, and if he has to, dyes their hair her color. And it's kind of creepy. But basically I needed her to be at the crime scene because I needed her to realize that it's her. And I didn't think that the same kind of emotional reaction could be pulled from just looking at crime scene photos and stuff. I needed her at the crime scene. But everyone I talk to, all of my professional friends who are attorneys in different states, like I have a friend who's an attorney in California, I have a friend who was an attorney in South Carolina. So I asked all these people, how would I get her to the crime scene? And all of their answers were they don't go to the crime scene. Prosecuting attorneys don't go to the crime scene. They just receive reports. And that was so frustrating to me because I needed her to actively be involved in the investigation. And I had already written it that way because I was going from Hollywood. I was going from Law and Order. And where they are actively there, or they occasionally, there was another one where there was a prosecuting attorney and they always were called to the crime scene, and that's what I really wanted, was that. But all of my research said it didn't happen. And so I was going to be in Washington, D.C. for something, and Richmond is just south of Washington, D.C., and so I went ahead and contacted the office of the prosecuting people. It's not, because I want to say district attorney, but in Richmond it's not the district attorney. And I contacted and wrote letters and wrote emails, and it's called the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. And finally, someone there said, the head guy called me and said, "What do you need?" And I said, "I need to come and speak to the person who does this job." And he said, "Oh, she goes to church with me," which was awesome because now I'm dealing with a Christian. And so I set up a meeting with her, and she was really wonderful. And so I went down and I spent the morning with her, and she answered every question I had, and like let me look at actual, like what she has in her office, like what she receives. And I went and sat in on court. It's in the same office. I didn't go with her to court, but I was able to go into court with her, or into court in her office, and see, how all that works. And so I was telling her that I needed to get my character onto the crime scene. And I will tell you that I was pushing the deadline. I had to have this book finished like a week, within a week of this conversation with her. And so I had already changed my book to accommodate the research I had preliminary done. And I had already changed the book to have her like get crime scene reports or happen upon the crime scene, all of this stuff, but it just didn't feel good to me. I didn't like it. And so I was telling her what my dilemma was, and she stopped me and she said, I get a phone call before the police do. Like before, not the police, obviously 911, but when, like in a homicide case, she gets a phone call while the body is still on the site. Like she goes to the site, and she is the one who fields all of the information and delivers it and passes it out. And I was like, that's perfect. That is exactly what I wanted to do. And she said, we're unusual in other cities and other states to have this be the way that we do it. And I thought that had to have been God working it out for me to have her be in Richmond, because that's the only explanation to why I have this, why would I do Richmond, Virginia? And why would I have this specific plot set up? And so it was perfect. And I was able to go back and change everything that I had written back to what I originally wanted it to be. And I honestly think that it made the emotions in the book so much more realistic. So, and then another interesting thing about that was that I'm not going to divulge anything here. Let me see if I can word it without saying something. When I explained the plot and I explained who the killer ended up being, she was fascinated that was my plot, because in her experience, people who were murderers who had similar to my serial killer, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to give it away, were always that. And so it was something that I just pulled out of the air and just wrote. And when I was explaining it to her, and for those of you who have read A Carol for Kent, you'll understand what it is that I'm trying to say and not say. When I was explaining it to her, she just had this stoic look on her face like this the whole time I was talking. And I thought, what is she going to say to me when I'm done? How bad is it that I came up with this? And, am I offending her in some way? And she just was like, this is spot on. This is my experience, is the people who have this specific orientation are always this. I thought, oh, well, that's perfect then. Not only did I perfectly set up my murder sites, I perfectly set up my serial killer to be someone who a psychiatrist would even say, oh yeah, that would totally happen. So that was really cool too. And being in her office, asking her questions like, if I was going to murder someone in this office, where would the cameras not show me? And she just didn't even seem fazed by the question. Because the whole time I'm sitting there walking through the building or whatever, I had to go through a metal detector and have my purse searched, and in her office, like walking along like this avenue of filing cabinets, she said, that's the dead zone. If you wanted to kill someone, that would be the spot where it could happen. And she just it was completely cool that this was what I was asking her. I felt like at the end I really needed to make sure that I sent her a book when it was written so that she would know that I was actually not actually planning on killing someone in the office, that I was actually writing, a story. And she let me see actual, like I got to go through all of the files and photos and reports for an actual case of a murder case. And so I got to see what they looked like, and I got to touch everything. And that was really, really cool to me, because, and I don't think I even put it in the book anywhere, but you never know what you need until you start writing. And it's better to go into a character fully immersed in the character and to understand what her environment would look like, and what her desk would look like, and what the things in her office where they would be and what they would look like as you're writing, because you might need to pull something. And I have a tendency to just absorb and absorb and absorb and absorb. And then suddenly it's in a book somewhere. And so having the experience of spending the morning in her office made it to where when I went back through, I rushed home, and like I said, I only had a week and to get the book back on track. But there were little things that I was able to add that just added more color to her life that I was just guessing at before from, consuming research books or Hollywood productions. And there's so many things like it, you can't rely on just Hollywood for research. The relying on Hollywood for research of what would happen once a crime happened versus, talking to my friends in different states taught me the lesson to always go to the person who does the job of my character and say, how would this work? Which is why when I wrote A Harmony for Steve, I went to this big mega church in Lexington, Northeast Christian Church. I have a friend who works there on staff. And so she connected me with Todd Ballard, who was the worship leader at the time there and well-known name in Christian music circles. And I was able to talk to him at length while I was writing A Harmony for Steve, and also see like the back of this mega church that can hold, the Crowder band to come and do a concert there. I mean, that's how big this church is. And so that gave me a huge insight into how the music world works inside, tours and tour buses and churches and all of that. And so I like after I left her office, as I was driving, the 8 hours home from Richmond, Virginia, all I could think of was, from now on, from this point forward, when I research a character, I will always go to that real life person and say, I'm writing a book. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And so far, every time I have done that, the doors have just swung wide open. People are always just thrilled to be able to have the opportunity. So the question was, what is the most interesting thing I discovered in research? And it's just that I was right. But also that God totally had my back with A Carol for Kent. And I'm so very thankful that I was able to confirm that. And be able to, if someone came to me later and said, you're just setting this up to make it look like something really happened when in real life, she would never be on the crime scene. I now know that she would. At least in Richmond, Virginia, she would. And maybe in other states too. Or in other cities, rather. So I was just so happy about that. All right, so I have an announcement. Scott, my son Scott, who is 11, is a YouTube fanatic and is like fascinated over the fact that I am doing videos now, because that's what he does, is he consumes YouTube videos. And he would like to do one with me. And so he wanted to do it today, but honestly, I wanted to like be prepared to know what we would be talking about. And so he's my son that has autism. And if you have a question about him or parenting autism or being autistic, you know, whatever it may be, he would like to do a live Facebook with me and a live video with me. And so I told him the next Monday that they're home from school, which will be probably November 6th, they don't have school. So on November 6th, it will be Scott and Hallee and probably Jeb, because, you know, that will be fun. And if you have any questions, go to my blog at halleebridgeman.com and click the link to ask me a question, and just go ahead and put it in that form. And we will pull those questions, and the three of us really together will answer them. So, and if you have any other question about me, my writing, any of my books, my characters, I would love to hear from you. And I'm so thankful for today's question. And I hope that you guys are off today on Columbus Day. We are enjoying our last day of fall break and really going to enjoy school going back tomorrow. I have a new book to start. And I'm ready. I'm like itching to get writing on it. I can't believe that, because I finished one Saturday and spent yesterday kind of in this I'm going to consume as many movies as I can consume day. And then today is clean the house and catch up on laundry, because I've been meeting my deadline. And then tomorrow I'll just go ahead and start another book. So I'm catching up from having so little production last year. But I will see you next Monday. And until then, have a wonderful day, and God bless you.